Greetings, much love and appreciation. I am a pastel Anita here with the Urban Bred Gardener Domain. Much love and appreciation. Thank you for joining me. I am ready to share with you some details about what I have discovered, not really discovered, but more what I noticed to be, I guess, kind of a suppressor or a partial hindrance for people in general, people in urban places. And that has to do with overall health and hygiene. So, what I want to speak on is in relation to that. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a really exciting thing to talk about. I know, I get it, I get it. However, those two aspects will actually provide someone who is struggling with a lot of health issues. It'll actually help you to, I guess they say, debunk some of the things that the industry may be telling you. However, what I'm going to share with you is actually going to shed light on the truth. Yeah, the truth will set you free. That's what I am here for. Sharing the wealth of wellness is my mission. I have been on this journey for health and wellness and ultimately to never be sick again for over a decade now. In that time frame, I've only been ill 5 days. Yes, 5 days. And it was two incidences. One day, one time was 4 days, the other time was one day. And those situations were both occurring while I was in between jobs. And why that's important is because when I'm between jobs, I didn't have as much funding coming in. So because there was that time span of it was roughly about 2 months where I still had money, but it wasn't the normal quality or amount that I had been getting. So what ended up happening was is not I had to accommodate the amount that I actually had. And so I put myself on a budget, which of course, when I'm budgeting, it's this smaller amount is used for purchasing. I still got good quality items, but I didn't get all of the well-rounded items that I used to get when I had the paycheck coming in. So what that means is my excuse me, what that means is that my quality of food and consumption had dropped slightly. And then also there were other elements introduced into that situation or those two situations. Both of them were, like I said, was between jobs. I was going from a comfortable living situation to a kind of monitored situation. And so what I mean is I was staying with someone during those two times and it wasn't my own space. So in that transition, the body is not quite in survival mode, but it's just in a different state. And because of that, um, I recognized what was going on. And to eliminate this from happening again, I have put some habits into place, or I guess you can say some disciplines on myself so I can avoid that type of situation again. But the main part here, as I mentioned, I want to talk about is hygiene and health in general. So let me get to the points. The first thing about hygiene is a lot of what we learned, like how to take care of ourselves, we learned from our parents or whoever was our guardian or whoever was around when we were growing up. So a lot of times the habits that we end up doing or generating or creating from watching others may not be the best for us. Now, not saying that what we were taught weren't good or didn't work. What I'm saying is there was probably things that were missing that are very pertinent as far as health, because hygiene is a big part of health. Like say, for instance, if you have a car, right? When you have a car, you want to keep the maintenance up. The maintenance is like the hygiene tasks that you do to keep the car healthy. If you neglect too many of these tasks, the car's performance decreases. And then you now have issues when you're trying to go somewhere and the car is not performing at its highest performance. Thus, comparison to hygiene. If you are lacking or missing some of these hygienic actions or tasks for your body, eventually your health is going to deteriorate or get reduced. And because you are not fully aware of the idea that these hygiene tasks can actually maximize your overall health and performance, things get overlooked. Years and years go by, and because most of us come from the same type of background, no one ever points out that these hygiene tasks are either lacking, minimal, or incorrect, or something is just not even working altogether. One of the things that I thought about recently is, and it's also something that a lot of people experience, and if you are someone who's going to be triggered by this, this is something for you to take account of. And I'm going to share with you a small story why this is important. So, when I was really young, apparently I became one of the children that sold candy. And yes, you know where this is going. And so, for many years, I always had candy stash or a lot of candy at my that I had access to. So, as the years went on, um, as I'm growing older, obviously there were cavities and things. And when I went to the dentist, they put in those silver fillings, which of course we know now has mercury and basically poison in your mouth. So over the years, those things were added in my mouth to accommodate the cavities that were created from not so much from eating the sugar, but from my lack or um, lack of wisdom or knowledge about how to properly clean my teeth from just normal, daily hygiene. Now, I still brushed my teeth, it was still a normal thing. Sometimes I would floss. And, of course, like I mentioned, obviously I went to the dentist. But what I was not doing properly was how I was brushing my teeth. So everyone's used to you taking, like the toothbrush and you just brush in your mouth and then you swish some liquid around or the water and the fluids and stuff. And then you spit it out and you wash your face and go to bed. And then when you get up in the morning, you kind of do the same thing. You go and get the toothbrush, put the toothpaste on it, which is probably laced with fluoride and other chemicals. Now you're just adding more uh, alchemical destruction to your mouth, and then you brush, right? So over the years, we thought that was the right thing to do, or I should say, I don't know what your situation was, but in general, and of course, I'm talking about my family members too. But over time, it still didn't stop the cavities nor prevent other issues going on in my mouth. So now, since I've been doing this healthy lifestyle for the past 10 years plus, it's actually like 13 now, I have learned how to take care of my teeth and my mouth in general. So I'll give you this one tip. And I don't think anyone that I know that's in this whole holistic wellness realm really talks about this. So the brushing your teeth, that's great. We get the crap off the surface, right? And possibly off your tongue. But what about between all of the spaces, right? So I have this weird setup where these couple of teeth kind of overlap. And so I noticed over time there was like a spot that would always get yellowish because the bristles can't quite reach it as well as the rest of the full surfaces. So I would, maintain that area, go in like with an extra little pick thing and, try to keep the plaque from building up in that area. And it's still a little bit of an issue there because it's, if I get my teeth straightened with like braces or something or the other clear thing that you use in your mouth, that may not be an issue. But because I'm aware of what the cause is, I'm not too concerned about it. Okay, so hey, if you want to help me out so I can get some braces or the visible thing to straighten my teeth, by all means, go ahead and make a donation. That's great. But that's not the point here. The point here is about the brushing, right? You're just getting stuff off the surface. We're not actually getting in between the teeth. Even if we floss, it still doesn't cause the stuff to come out. So one of the things I've been doing when I was older, and just from watching videos about how to um, heal your teeth and your dental hygiene. It's going to sound very simple, but most people completely miss it and it goes way over their heads, right? When you go to the dentist, what do they do when they're cleaning your mouth, right? They have the thing that goes in and you stick it in there and it sucks the little vacuum thing, it sucks the liquid out. Not talking about that. The other thing, they have this other device that spritzes water in between your teeth spaces to get the crap to come out. And this is not like just a little bit of a spray, like a water fountain dripping or water running. This is a pressurized amount of water that's being pushed into a tiny, excuse me, it's being pushed basically like a missile into a point so that it forces whatever is in between there to come out. Like you take a water gun and you shoot at something, it'll knock something over. So this is basically what a water pick is. So about probably about 10 years ago, actually, I think I was using a water pick before I started changing my diet, but I was still brushing my teeth and I wasn't using it every day. So it was more like, oh, when I had time or because it was really loud, if I wasn't too late, disturbing other people. So now here I am, fast forward to today. Of course, I'm eliminated, processed sugar from my diet. So the issue of the cavities, I went to the dentist to get the mercury fillings removed about 6 years ago. And the dentist obviously says, well, you don't have any new cavities. And I said, well, I shouldn't. I haven't been eating any sugar. And he laughed and we kind of joked about it for a little bit. And then we went through the procedure, which I'll show you some photos on, to remove all of the mercury fillings that I had in my mouth. And I had, is it five or six? There was a total of 12 cavities over the years I had gotten total, but about five or six were filled with the mercury poison, the amalgam filling is what they call it. So what I learned from that is since I made the transition from just brushing my teeth, now I still brush my teeth, but I also use the water pick. And in fact, I use it twice a day. So I use the water pick twice a day and I brush my teeth twice a day. And then sometimes I'll floss, but because I'm using the water pick, I don't really need to floss as much. So the flossing is done on a less frequent basis. But that is my one tip for people to focus on. And it goes even deeper than that. So why I bring that up first is because your mouth, the nerves and everything in your mouth, it connects to your brain, obviously, and it also connects to the meridians and other, what's the word I'm looking for? The other nerves and things in your body. So if you end up, and a lot of people have this issue, if your teeth has bacteria and plaque and stuff that's growing inside and causing decay, that gets into your gums. And then from your gums, it gets into your bloodstream and it gets into your nervous system, it goes to the brain, and then that causes other issues. Now, disclaimer, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a medical professional. This is not advice. This is me sharing with you about the research and my own personal experience, right? So I can attest to this because, as I said, since I've stopped one, eating sugar, and two, started using the water pick every day, and I don't use fluoride toothpaste. So there's three things: stop eating sugar, processed sugar, processed sugar. Fruit sugar is still good. Processed sugar, water pick, and what was the third thing? Apparently, my brain is gone. And no fluoride toothpaste. So by eliminating those three things, the health of my dental hygiene has not just done a 180 degrees, but has, I guess it's kind of like boost the actual vitality of my, boost the vitality of my overall dental health and hygiene in general. So because I had such great results with doing those three things, I had a lot more, not so much discipline, but a lot more motivation to do other hygiene habits that actually were beneficial for my health. So this is the importance of the hygiene, right? Because as I said, if you've got stuff going on with your teeth, it leaches into the rest of your body. And sometimes it may not be obvious that, hey, this thing going on with my elbow could be related to a cavity or bacteria growth that you have in your mouth. Now, I would suggest to you, anyone who is in a situation where they've got such stuff going on with their teeth, is to go, one, see a dentist. Don't be afraid to get cavities filled and fillings. They have um, the opaque or the tooth colored enamel stuff that they use now, which is actually a couple of things that I have, and that's what I had replacing the silver fillings. So it's a much more healthier choice. It's still a chemical, but it's not, apparently from the research, it's not consistently leaching something toxic into your system. So go see a professional, do some research, and then find out what's going on, and then go ahead and implement a plan. Excuse me, as I mentioned, to one, cut down on your sugar intake or consumption, whether it's even if you can stop all of it, like I said, aside from fruits. And then two, change your toothpaste. So get something natural that's not got fluoride in it. And I know they say it's good, but if you do the right research, you'll find out the truth. And then three, introduce a water pick into your hygiene habit every day. So I'm going to move on from there because I think I made the point with that. And then, like I said, the connection there is that when you do that on a consistent basis, there may be some other issue that's caused by that, that's a side effect. And you may end up eliminating that without having to need other um, treatments going on, because I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you that it's a treatment or something like that. But you also want to make sure that you're writing these things down when you're having these experiences, because that's going to be your best indicator. One, you're able to see or read what was the initial cause, because you're going to write down things that you were doing. And then when you start having results, you can compare that to what you started off with. All right, so I'm going to go on to another hygiene thing, and it's going to be pretty obvious. It's about your hair. Your hair. Now, some people talk about it being an extension of our aura, our energy, like an antenna. And a big part of what I've been experimenting with recently is not wearing my headscarf. So initially, I started off with wearing a head wrap because I was doing some research on Islam and why the women always wrapped up their hair. So from there, it kind of turned into an experiment, not intentionally like trying to harm anything or make something look bad, but I wanted to find out what the experience was like. So I began to wrap my hair up and go out into public. And actually, the reaction was that more Muslim women, or the women that wrap their hair, actually started speaking to me, and even Muslim men as well. So that was very interesting. However, on the other side, like there was a one time or two or three times I was riding the bus, and um, I'm going to say where it was, in Las Vegas. And I noticed that there were people, I'm not going to say what nationality, where you can figure it out. They didn't want to sit next to me. And how you know that is because there was very limited seating available. And instead of them sitting next to me, they came in immediately and sat the front. Now you may think it's something, but there was a couple of times when there were only seats available next to me and they actually chose to stand up. And so it's pretty obvious. But on the same token, like I said, the like Middle Eastern people or Muslim people and stuff, they would actually come and sit next to me with their families and everything, which was very interesting to observe. And so I eventually altered my headscarf, my headdress, to not look Muslim, because I did have the burqa set up where it was wrapped around my face and all my hair was tucked in and draped around my neck. But what I decided to do eventually, and this was mainly because I was working in the garden, was to just protect my hair from the dust and chemicals and things flying around. So I eventually just started to wear, a ponytail or something like that, but it would still be wrapped up. Part of the joy with that is that it minimized how much work I had to do my hair, because it was always pulled back in a ponytail, kind of nice and neat, wrapped up in a bun. All I had to do was, like, once a week or whenever I washed it, brush it into a ponytail, wrap it up into a bun, put the scarf on every day, and off I go. And then, of course, I sleep with the scarf as well. So what I'm finding out about the hair is that, one, a lot of people wear the scarf and cover it, and then they don't actually groom and wash, you know, their hair often enough. And then when that happens, obviously it smells. But then two, maybe some Rastafaris can explain this, but like when you have dreads, apparently you're supposed to get the hair tucked in and not lose the hair. You're supposed to keep all of it, is what I've seen different ways. So a lot of times I've seen them take the little pick thing and they're pushing it back into the dread to make it tighter so that you're keeping all of your hair. But at the same time, a lot of people who get certain hairstyles become lazy and they don't keep the hair clean. And a big part of your energy and your performance, your spiritual side, the energy literally, is about back to the hygiene. So if you're not taking care of your hair properly, you can lose some of your vital performance because your hair is either dirty or unkempt. And when I mean unkempt, I don't mean like you have dreads and you get them twisted and redone on a regular basis like you're supposed to. I'm talking about the people who just do it and completely leave it. Now, if that's your thing because it's your spiritual truth, okay. But in general, if I go somewhere or if I'm out in public or whatever the case may be, and someone is next to me and I can smell their hair, it's kind of like, one of those deals. Like, I get it. It's beautiful. It's great. It's luxurious. But like, wouldn't you want to keep something clean that you cherish? Let's go back to the car. Like sometimes I'll get a little preoccupied with things and I may not wash my car as much. For instance, I haven't driven very much recently, but I'm not going anywhere far. And if the car gets rained on, why did I need to wash it? However, if I'm always out and about and doing things where the car is getting full of dirt and dust, that can hinder performance as well, such as, the aerodynamics of the car. And then, of course, if you go play in the mud or something, that can just add extra weight. And then if that mud gets into compartments and things underneath the car, that can also cause maintenance issues later. So this is the same thing with our hair. So if you don't wash it enough or keep it kempt, it can become a hindrance. And we've all seen these poor dogs that have the long hair and it gets all matted and stuff like that. And then they just look nasty, like it's full of mud and dirt. And you're just like, oh, and you smell, and it smells like horrible, nasty, whatever. So my point here is, again, I'm not suggesting or becoming a doctor or whatever, is that keeping your hair hygiene on a regular basis so that it's well kempt. Not only is it showing other people that your hair is of importance to you, but it's also showing your body and your spirit that you have the knowledge and wisdom to take care of something that needs care. And again, not just a car, it's like a child too. You got to take care of your, I mean, you'll have to, I guess. I don't have any by choice because I watched other people, but long story about that. That wasn't quite all of it. But taking care of your hair is very important because it also helps to boost your energy and performance. And you've seen people, ladies, you go to the hairdresser and your hair looks all good and you're smiling and you're strutting and everything. And guys and girls, everybody's talking to you about your hair. Doesn't it feel good? Like when your hair is done and not well kempt and looking nice. So why wouldn't you want that on a regular basis? So that's just another thing. And then I know some people, trust me, I know it took me a while before I was actually extremely comfortable with my own hair's texture. And it looks good now because I've been, it's 2002. 2002, I might have a picture to share with you about this, but in 2002, it was a year after I moved to Las Vegas. And before I moved, I had bleached my hair and dyed it purple about 3 times because I wanted purple hair. So that's what I did. Well, when I got to Las Vegas, I wasn't thinking about the change of the climate. So I came from New Jersey and I'm moving, came from a coastal area and I'm moving to the desert. So in that, what ultimately happened is that I didn't keep enough moisture in my hair and it broke off. It was this short. Like it was literally like this short. I couldn't put it in a ponytail. I didn't know what to do with it because that was the first time my hair had been that short. So ultimately, I just left it natural and, put some hair gel in it and kind of, moved it around and groomed it into the hair. And I went out and eventually my little curls kind of got a little tamed after a while. And that's how I wore my hair until it grew back out enough where I can do it in a ponytail. Well, that was the last time, except for one exception, anyone has ever touched my hair with a heating element, chemicals, and of course, chemicals including dye. So it's been over 20, was it 23 years ago that only like I said, except for one exception, I had so my, actually it was two, no, just one. My aunt's funeral, I had a cousin who helped do my hair and she used the hot ironer a little bit and I went under the, not hot iron, the hair dryer. So I don't even own a hair dryer anymore. No heat stuff touches my hair. Like the hottest stuff that gets to my hair is the sun out in the desert when I'm out in the garden. So that's something too that ladies may want to investigate about your own hair and hygiene is to eliminate using the heating elements like a curling iron or the hot comb. And they say, oh, the hot comb. I said, yeah, but it's still heat on your hair. Like you wouldn't put it on your skin. You're burning your hair. Sure, it may make it straight. I get it because I used to have it done to my hair too. My mom used to take the hot comb, you put it on the stove. Yes, but since I have not done that, as you see, this is not, and it's kind of tight, so it still comes down a little bit further here. This is not just, and no chemicals. My secrets about my hair is that I only use things on it that I can actually eat. So one of the things is coconut oil, sesame oil sometimes, almond oil, argan oil, shea butter, things like that. There's this all natural stuff. And then you still do natural processes. And this is including your shampoos and conditioner, which I don't use conditioner. All I use is actually my natural soap. I don't even use a shampoo. I have a natural soap that I use in my hair or to wash my body, and it's the same soap that I use to wash my hair with. So eliminating or minimizing, I say eliminate because my intention is to use no chemicals. Now, I can't fully guarantee that the soap doesn't have any chemicals because a lot of soaps don't like to post that. However, finding a local soap maker, someone that goes to a farmer's market and they list all their ingredients, which of course some of the ingredients people use, I still don't condone. So I have this issue with using certain people's soaps. The one soap that I had found that's been the best in my experience is, I'm going to have to say it this way, the African black soap, but the black soap because it uses all natural ingredients. So I don't have any of that right now. If anybody's got some, want to hook me up, let me know. But it's like the best thing ever. You can wash your body with it, obviously, your face and everything. And then I also use it to wash my hair, and it's totally natural, right? So the hair, keeping up with the hair is another tip. And so how that connects to your health is of course your scalp, right? If you're using chemical shampoos and things like that and hair products and things that get conked up in your hair, those chemicals leach into your pores. Now, it may not seem that obvious, but we have more pores on our head, from the hairs and stuff, follicles and things like that, than pretty much anywhere else in our body. So our head is actually absorbing a lot of chemicals if you're using those. And again, don't take what I'm saying 100%. Go do your own research about it. And I don't mean just go to Wikipedia or ask a doctor. I mean, literally go do some serious research, dig deep, go get some medical books and terminologies and things like that. Look it up, find out for yourself. Read different magazines, follow different people who are experts, not just professionals, but have been doing it for some time, and they will share with you their knowledge and wisdom, whether it be paid or free, and then you can discern with your own eyeballs and judgments what is actually good for you and how that works with your hair. So that's a big part to point out for the health as your health as well. And I'm trying to think here. The third thing about hygiene is this one's going to kind of throw people off because I'm sure this is not something that gets talked about a lot. Um, it's not something that gets talked. In fact, I don't think I've ever heard any spiritual, healing people who are doing all these channels talk about this outside of this specific group of people that had this knowledge. So when I went through my transition, I was actually learning how to use ancient health maintenance methods, and specifically is Ayurveda. Now, Ayurveda, we know, most people know, is coming from India, the continent. And basically, Ayurveda is life knowledge or life science, and it teaches you how to use the natural elements from the earth to take care of the body. Well, one of the things that I learned, because I was going to school to become an Ayurvedic doctor, one of the things I learned in the text was that we actually, I say we, I'm talking about people, most people in the US and America, have learned to wash our bodies backwards. Yes, go ahead, think about it for a second and laugh. So let me explain. When I started doing Ayurveda, one of the lessons at the beginning was that we learned how to take care of our health and hygiene. Well, one of the things that came up was talking about like putting oils on the body. And, most people, you get dirty, you take your clothes off, you get in the shower, you wash, you get out and you put lotion on. And some people put oil. Well, what I learned is that ultimately, from my experience, and what I learned is that we should be putting oil on our skin before we take the shower and not just putting it on our skin, but actually massaging our muscles and stuff. So massaging it into our skin. And I'll tell you specific oils here in a moment. And then in a warm or room, warm so that you're not cold because when things are cold, they contract. So your pores won't allow the oil to seep in when you're cold. So in a warm environment, right? So a warm bath or a warm bathroom, warm oil, rub that on your skin first, massaging and whatnot and so forth, and go through everything, you do your scalp too. And then by the time you're done, you're ready to get into the shower. Turn on the warm water, hot, however you like it, just not cold. Lather up, wash ourselves, and get out after we rinse. And the result of that from me and my experience is that my skin is actually really soft and has a shine to it and is actually doesn't need I don't need to put lotion or oil on afterwards. It's been kind of melded into my skin. And even though yes, I use soap to wash it off, it seeped into my skin before that. So our skin, some people may not know this, our skin naturally creates an oil. And the oil actually helps to protect our skin from certain bacterias and things. And it also aids with like wounds, like if you scratch or scar or something in the healing process. Well, when normally we take a shower and we wash, and then we put chemical lotion stuff on. Now that chemical lotion stuff is because there's chemicals in lotion, right? It's not unless you're using natural stuff. That is actually seeping into your skin. And then you wonder why it continues to flake up or becomes a problem because your skin is now trying to deal with this irritant. And then you continue to put more lotion and stuff on, to try and get rid of it. When in fact, if you just use a natural oil, rub it into your skin first, allow that to be absorbed. When you get in the shower, it gets heated up even more, which makes the oil more viscous because it's warmer and it can absorb into the skin. And then after you wash it off, it's still there underneath. But then when you get out of the shower, you do not need or you shouldn't need to put on more lubrication to prevent ashing. Now, at the beginning, when you first start doing this, you may need to because your body is not used to that process. So you may need to mitigate the situation at the beginning. But once you get into a rhythm and keep doing it on a regular basis, you should see the difference in your skin and actually feel it. And then you'll be able to have the proof to know that this is good. And again, the hygiene goes hand in hand with the health. People, I'm not like trying to point it out. A lot of times people will come up to me and I'm like, wow, your skin looks great. What do you do to it? And I just look at them and I'm like, nothing. And so sometimes I kind of feel bad for saying that. I still put the oils and stuff, same thing like when I'm showering the body. I put the oils on. In fact, I do my face first and then I go through the rest of the body. Like I said, start at the head, but I'll usually do my face first and then go back up and do my hair and come down with the massage and the oils. That way your face has clean, oil on it before you get to your hair because you haven't washed it yet. So a lot of times I'll get people asking me about my skin and how it looks good and it's got a nice glow and it's not all blotchy or I don't have any blemish. I used to have a lot of blemishes and pimples and things and whatnot. And over the years, like I said, since I've changed what I was putting on my skin, that ultimately helped with the health of my skin. So that is what I wanted to share with you about hygiene and health. Those are just three basic things. So I talked about dental hygiene, I talked about hair hygiene, and then I talked about the skin. And there's obviously more that I would love to share with you. If you can give me some comments about some other hygiene habits and practices that you would like me to share with you, because I don't know what other people need to know. I just know what I did over the years. But what I did may not be as helpful to you watching. So if you leave me a comment, let me know what other hygiene things you may want some information on that I had to deal with in my experience so that I can share that with you. So, and then I'll connect the hygiene and health situation because it's definitely a big part of everyone's lifestyle. And again, I've not needed to see a doctor except for the dentist in the last 13 years because I've been able to take care of my health and wellness on my own using ancient health maintenance techniques and methods, mostly Ayurveda. And you can do your research on Ayurveda. I'm definitely not the most well professional known person to do Ayurveda because I didn't grow up in India with it. But since I've learned it, I have been able to put that into my lifestyle and changed it, not just 180 degrees, but 180 degrees and went a whole distance across the earth with it. And it's been the greatest joy to learn about Ayurveda. I continue to learn about it to this day and use it in my life because it has been very, very honoring to me. And there are other ancient health maintenance methods that I use as well, but Ayurveda was my start and it's the main focus. So again, if you want to know about some other things as far as hygiene and health goes, let me know. I'll be grateful to share you about my experience and my wisdom that I've learned over the years. Much love and appreciation. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully, those tips can help someone. Again, it's not an attack on anyone, but I know a lot of people who are struggling with things that are costing them a lot of money, and then they're just going to places that are just costing them more money and not solving the problem. So I want you to be able to solve the problem so that we all can stop spending our money on useless tactics. That's what they are, tactics, and actually get to the natural solution. Thank you for joining me again. Much love and appreciation. Please like the video, share it with someone, and subscribe. A rose in perfection shines bright.